Turn our camera on.
I'll find it.
Calvin. All right, I'll call the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority to order. See Commissioner Kyle in the room. See any other elected officials. First item of business will be the approval of the minutes of the November 20th meeting and the November 22nd call meeting. Is there a motion to approve as printed? Have a motion by Mayor Debbie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Underwood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Passes unanimously. We will hold financials until December. There was a mix-up in the transmission of those, and we'll handle those with the regular meeting in January. Reports and updates, Atlanta Film Studio.
You should have the report in your backup documentation for the film studio. I believe we even have a whole report in the back. Not sure that you can read it. I think this is about a 5 font, but anyways. Yeah, we continue to have a record high level of interest and holds on the film studio. We did have 2 projects that we have been pursuing that ended up going out of the country. One went to Australia, the other went to Eastern Europe. So those 2 really out of our control had more to do with the filming outside the studio, the site filming as opposed to the location in the studio. We do have currently about 6 feature films and about 4 television series that all have series. Many of those starting in January, probably half of those starting in January. So we're running down to the wire on these. If we're going to end up with one of these that are starting in January, we should know within the next couple of weeks. So
All of these prospects.
they are, yes, sir. Yes, sir. If there's any specific questions on it, I'll be glad to address them.
Anybody have any other questions about the film studio? All right, corporate hangar update.
Wanted to let you know, of course you heard the construction schedule earlier, and I mentioned that we're going to go ahead and do an RFP on the lease for the hangar. We do have a couple of different entities that have expressed interest. We did receive one proposal in writing, as opposed to bringing a single proposal to you. I thought it would be more prudent to go ahead and do the RFP and allow anyone else who's out there who may not be aware of the facility to get a proposal in. So looking to get these proposals in January. The original schedule for completion of the hangar was the end of March. As you heard earlier, they're about 2 weeks behind schedule, so potentially in the middle of April is the time frame. So if we get proposals in January, approve an agreement in February, then that gives that entity a couple of months to prepare to move into the facility. So I think the timing there is good. And if anybody's got any questions or anyone has any suggestions on information to include in the RFP, I'd be glad to hear that.
Any questions on the corporate hangar? Update on Dallas Industrial Park.
We have an agenda item down below that discusses the change order for Southern Associates on the lift station work at the Dallas Industrial Park. And I wanted to go ahead and pass out to you the change order and just discuss briefly here the issue that we're having at the Dallas Industrial Park on the lift station. As you guys are aware, the Dallas Industrial Park was previously developed as a residential subdivision. The sewer lines that are internal to the development were placed in the ground probably 2008 time frame, as well as the outfall of the force main. It's not an outfall, it's a force main. The force main line, same time frame. So because those lines sat empty for 5 years, we are having some problems with them trying to get the final approval on the testing of the lines to make sure that they are that they don't have leaks and that type of thing in them. What you see on the invoice here from Southern Associates is the original force main pressure test, which failed. They found 2 breaks in the line. Those were repaired, retested, failed again. And they have had to go in and place T's in the line in order to be able to try to isolate the location where those breaks are at. So unfortunately, the topography out there is rocky, as is the case in a large portion of our county. And that does cause problems with, especially with force main lines, even more so than gravity lines. So, you know, I would like to say that these costs were anticipated. However, that would be stretching the truth a little bit. We did know that we had to retest these lines and make sure they were all in working order, but did not anticipate the number of issues that we've run into with the lines. So ultimately, we've got to repair them. The sewer does not function unless the lines are intact, and the lift station will not function unless the force main is intact. So we do have to do these repairs and get the force main to pass the pressure test. So, this change order, which you'll vote on down below, is for an amount of $24,077.23.
Anybody have any opposition to moving that agenda item and passing the motion on it now? Is there a motion to?
Can I ask a question first? Does this clear everything? I mean, is it operational now?
It is not operational now. Some of this work has already been done, some of it has not, because this is outside the scope of our contract with them. They started doing this work, however, they understandably didn't want to get too far out ahead of the contract without it being approved. So some of this has been done and some of it has not. So this is an estimation as to what it's going to take to get the force main and the gravity lines to pass. I cannot guarantee you that this will take care of all the problems, but this is what the consultant has suggested. We've had 2 other consultants review it to ensure that the costs are in line and that the plan is appropriate. Everyone has kind of given me the head nod, and yeah, this is what they would do if it was their project. So I'm recommending that we move forward with it.
Is there a motion on the recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mayor Debbie and a second by Mr. Underwood to approve the change order. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Passes unanimously. Paulding Commerce Park.
I just wanted to let you know that we have had a couple of new prospects show some interest in the Paulding Commerce Park, and Jamie's here. He'll talk about some of those in just a moment. If you haven't been through the Paulding Commerce Park since Interroll was completed, I would urge you to drive through there. The park is absolutely fantastic. It shows incredibly well, so the folks that we've had, the prospects that we've had that have come in and looked at the park have really been impressed with the aesthetics of the park. You normally don't hear people talking about aesthetics associated with an industrial park, but this industrial park looks fantastic. So we are trying to finish up with some designs. Mayor Austin had agreed to take a look at those for us, so should be getting those over to him in the next couple of weeks. And we'll get the entrance and all installed and up to snuff prior to the grand opening for the Enroll facility.
All right, any questions on the Commerce Park? Report from the West Georgia Joint Development Authority, Mr. Shipp.
Well, the Georgia Development Authority's quiet from the holidays, nothing new to report since last month, and next meeting's in January.
Chamber report, Ms. Wright.
Well, we're finishing up the year. January 23rd, we will host our 53rd annual celebration and awards dinner. And visited with Interroll last week, and we are putting together packets for their new employees.
Any questions of the Chamber? Paulding Economic Development Organization, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of very, very quick updates. Back to the Paulding Commerce Park that Blake had mentioned. The activity with Project Blue that we talked about last time, we're waiting for them to come back with a decision, which we expect to be probably sometime in January. I know that we are one of just a few locations in Georgia that are on the final list for that project. We also have another project that we've taken a look at to maybe do a multi-tenant building, possibly in the front part of the park, for a company that I mentioned last time, which was Project Seal, that needs 20,000 square feet. And the way that would make that work for the front part would be someone coming in and building, say, a larger building and having this multi-tenant. Right now, we're in the process of working to get to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs the 2013 report for the Paulding County City of Dallas Opportunity Zone. This is the annual report that is sent to them that records activity, developments, business license, permit activity, new companies, things like that that have come into the zone. So I'm coordinating with our folks at the cities and the county to get all that information, which has to be to them by the end of January. And speaking of opportunity zones, we did turn in our application to the Department of Community Affairs for the Paulding County City of Highland Opportunity Zone. Unfortunately, we've been notified that DCA has put all opportunity zone approvals on hold pending further notice, which we expect to be first or second quarter of 2014. That also has ramifications for our existing opportunity zone. In the last few weeks, I've spent some time working with 3 companies that have requested, actually one's a vacant building, 2 are existing companies that requested to be included in the current opportunity zone. We haven't had any issues with making those requests in the past. Those requests are also on hold statewide. We'll know a little bit more about this in 2014, but that's where we are with the zones. We have 4 small manufacturing projects that are looking around that want to be in Paulding. We have a real challenge trying to accommodate these companies. The 4 that I'm working with combined would be about 50 jobs. They're all, some are 5 employees, others are 20. But the challenge is we have about 7 or 8 available industrial buildings, of which maybe 2 or 3 have loading docks. So the problem is we don't have a large inventory of buildings to show them, and what we do have does not have the loading docks, which is what these companies require. So it's making it really challenging. It's a little frustrating to have companies that want to come into Paulding, but we don't have the building product to offer them. So in some cases, we're looking at trying to get new construction going with some of the developers we have here. Working with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to get a sewer grant that we talked about last time for an existing industry expansion. The grant would pay for the entire sewer line that would go to this company's facility. It's a $150,000 grant that we're seeking, and the process has started for that, and we expect to have an application in sometime around the middle to end of January. And the job creation would go from anywhere from a current job number of 50+ employees up to somewhere between 65 and maybe 75 employees at the facility. So a good existing industry we're working with. We're working also on getting our website finished, which should be launched in February. The initial design, everything looks really, really good. Easy for clients to navigate and find the information that they're looking for. And that should, again, be launched in February. And then finally, on the annual grand opening, I was with those guys yesterday at the new facility, and everything is starting to come together. Their invite lists are being put together for save the date. This is going to be a fantastic grand opening for them, and so we will be getting information on that fairly soon. So if there's any questions, we have to take it.
When does Interloan start operation?
I was over there, like I said, yesterday. They're already starting to manufacture. They have, I would guess right now in the facility, maybe 15 to 20 employees would be my guess. And now they're starting to really hire and look to hire for the production job. So that process is beginning. But they have some stations set up, and they've already started manufacturing a few conveyors. So it's moving along. They expect to be fully operational and running with what they want sometime in February, certainly prior to the opening in March. And the showroom already has a conveyor system set up and finishing that.
Anybody have any other questions, Jamie? Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to approval